We begin today's class with a prayer. Om Namah Shri Yatirajaya Vivekananda Suraye Satchit Sukha Swarupaya Swamine Tapaharine. So we continue our Raj Yoga class. Last Friday, we discussed the 8 steps briefly, which included Yama, Niyama, Asana, the 3rd step, Pranayama, the 4th step, Pratyahara, the 5th step of yoga, Dharana, Dhyana, and Samadhi. So, all these topics will be considered in Raj Yoga. Swami Vivekananda, as I told you, Swami Vivekananda has discussed elaborately on the 4th step of yoga, of the 8 steps which constitute the Raj Yoga or Patanjali's yoga. The Raj Yoga, you should remember, was the name given by Swami Vivekananda. It's not the traditional Raj Yoga as we find it in the Hatha Yoga sect. There is a sect which practices Hatha Yoga, and in that there is a small Raj Yoga. So this Raj Yoga should not be confused with that Raj Yoga, because this Raj Yoga, Raja means kingly. So this kingly science or the royal science was what Swami Vivekananda meant, because he gave so much importance to this Raj Yoga. So he believed that this is the king of all the 4 yogas. There is Karma Yoga, there is Bhakti Yoga, there is Jnana Yoga. There was no independent Raj Yoga as such. If you see the Gita, you will get the 3 yogas. But a Raj Yoga is supposed to be a part of every yoga, because it deals with the human mind, it deals with concentration. So no yoga, whether you perform Karma Yoga, Bhakti Yoga, or even Jnana Yoga, requires a certain degree of concentration, without which the yogas will not succeed. So this is the basis, you may say, though it is one of the 4 yogas which Swami Vivekananda wanted us to harmonize in our lives. He says each person has these 4 faculties, and these 4 faculties are part of human personality. 3 faculties have been recognized in the Western psychology as well. It is worth repeating again, because this aspect has not been understood properly. When we study Raj Yoga, it predominantly is a type of yoga on which Swamiji wrote his wonderful book, where he wanted this Raj Yoga to be the basis of all the other 4 yogas. That is why in the emblem he designed for Ramakrishna mission, he wanted an emblem which would convey this idea of harmony of all the 4 yogas, which form part of human personality. Every personality, to some extent, possesses these 4 faculties. There's no person who doesn't have an emotion. There's no personality who doesn't have thinking capacity. There's no personality who has willpower, who has no willpower. So everybody has a certain degree of willpower, a certain degree of thinking capacity, a certain degree of emotional strength which he has. So all these 3 can be used to practice different yogas, which are known as Karma Yoga, which strengthens your willpower. Willpower is required, will is required, willing is required to do karma. In spite of having good ideas, if one does not put it into practice and does not exercise his or her will, then Karma Yoga is not possible. So Karma Yoga, to do action, requires willpower, the development of the will, which is accepted by Western psychology as well. They say thinking, feeling, and willing. These are the three basic functions of human personality. A human personality can think, a human personality can feel, and human personality can will. So thinking gives rise to Jnana Yoga, as I told you, the path of knowledge. So when we exercise the path of knowledge, when we exercise discrimination, we are actually following the path of Jnana, which is accepted in Gita and all the Upanishads, and Vedanta accepts that. Then there is another path which is known as Karma Yoga, where exercise of the willpower, people who are predominantly having a very strong willpower, they are very active. So they need to do some work. They cannot sit quiet. They cannot write. They cannot think deeply. I mean, their faculty of willing is greater than their faculty of thinking. So they use Karma Yoga, which suits their personality. Then we have Bhakti Yoga. There are people who are predominantly emotional in nature. When they start working, they find that their emotions come in the way. So unless a certain degree of purification of emotions take place, he will be an emotional wreck. Too much of emotion can destroy a person. So Bhakti Yoga teaches us to sublimate our emotions in such a way that they assist you in going towards your goal of life, which is realization of Brahman or Satchidananda within you. So that is the goal, primary goal of yoga, primary goal of Raj Yoga also. Patanjali discovered one more aspect of our personality, which was perhaps not neglected but not thought of as important in Western psychology. That is the power of restraining thoughts, which is unique to human beings. No other animal, all other animals, though, who and other lower human beings who have some kind of mind. Everybody has a mind. It may be a developed mind or it may be a primitive mind, but everybody has a mind which functions according to its capacity. But human beings have this reflexive power and also have the power to meditate. Now, the power to meditate comes when you restrain your thoughts. So, the Raj Yoga, the basic definition of Raj Yoga is Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Chitta means the mental vrittis, the waves, the mental waves. If you can restrain it, anything that you restrain results in tremendous power, which enhances the personality in different ways. We'll come to that, how it enhances our personality, how it takes us towards our goal by restraining our thoughts. This is the fourth basic faculty which every personality, every advanced or every evolved personality possesses. The power of reflection, the power of meditation, the power of controlling one's thought are not used. They are used to a certain extent unconsciously. Whoever concentrates his mind to achieve success, whether in the path of jnana, bhakti or karma, he has to have this kind of control of mind. Without control of mind, one cannot succeed either in spiritual life or even in secular life. To do anything in the world, you require a concentrated mind. That everybody accepts. But this concentration can be developed by restraining the thoughts and not allowing them freedom to just arise from our mind, mental stuff or chitta randomly. Now what is happening is there are so many thoughts and we find it very difficult to focus them and direct it to a particular pursuit in life. If we can do it, we excel in that particular field. If a doctor decides that all his thoughts, vrittis about medicine are focused, then he becomes a good doctor. So also any other field, a musician, if he focuses all his mental waves in learning about music, thinking about music, practicing music, then he will be a good musician. So this Raj Yoga is involved in all the secular activities and all the other yogas as well. To do Karma Yoga, to do work perfectly, you need a concentrated mind. But that is not what is meant here. When you say restraining the mind, it is focusing the mind in a self-reflecting way. We're trying to self-reflect, try to think, try to analyze where are the thoughts coming from, where do they origin? I mean, where is their origin? How do these thoughts originate? From where do they originate? And once they originate, how do they come up to the surface, come up to our mind, and then as a result, we behave in a particular way. So in spite of all our best efforts, sometimes we get undesirable thoughts, we get weakening thoughts, we get so many different kinds of thoughts, which we wish we did not have, because they obstruct our success in any field. So to prevent that, we try to find out. Rajoga gives you a technique to dive deep into the recesses of your own mind using its self-reflexive capacity to find out whether you can control these thoughts at the causal level. We discussed this I wanted to make it very clear because the purpose of Raj Yoga is very important. Before we discuss the 8 steps, Swamiji says, what is the reason why we restrain these thoughts? Like the power of thinking we develop so that our thinking capacity is increased. We do Jnana Yoga with the help of that. If we direct it for spiritual purposes, it becomes Jnana Yoga. If we direct it for secular purposes, we become an intellectual person. We get secular knowledge of the various subjects. There, thinking is involved. If feeling is involved, we become very emotional people. We become noble people. We start feeling for others. We refine our feelings. The more fine they become, the more empathetic we become. So feeling also is part of our personality. As a human being evolves, he starts to feel more and more for others. In fact, Swami Vivekananda gave so much importance to this emotion. He said, it is through feeling that you can undertake great works. The men who moved the world are men who could feel for others. They were men of compassion, like Buddha, like Christ, who like Sri Ramakrishna, like Swami Vivekananda. They refined their feeling to such an extent, and that is facilitated by Bhakti Yoga. When you start loving God, you start loving God's creatures, the creatures who are there. You start loving everybody. You start loving humanity. So that is how your emotions are transmuted. The emotions of fear, the emotions of envy, the emotions of jealousy. There are so many negative emotions. And through Bhakti Yoga, uh, we convert or transmute those emotions positively, and that positive emotion we either direct it to God, or even if we want to do some humanitarian or charitable work, we direct it to the human beings. And then a lot of service, a lot of people do, they are emotionally empathetic or sympathetic to the people around them. And that is how Bhakti Yoga acts, either in realizing the Ishta or the goal of reaching the goal of life, or indirectly by serving humanity, which ultimately purifies your mind and takes you towards your Ishta. So that is how emotions work. Then the willpower works in a different way. The willpower, as you go on increasing your willpower, you feel like doing more and more karma yoga. And a balanced personality will have these 3 things in equal measure. Power of thinking. After thinking, he doesn't rest. That's why Swamiji says, if you really feel for somebody, then you have to think and try to find out a solution instead of just feeling with him. We can feel empathy, we can feel sympathy for a person. But if we don't use our brains and if we don't use our thoughts and solve that problem for him, we are not going to help him. So it's not enough if we are empathetic or sympathetic. We have to be at the same time use our thinking capacity. And then Swamiji says you have to go a step ahead. Just by feeling and thinking about others of solutions and suggesting those solutions to that person, can you do something? And to do something for him, you have to exercise your willpower. So that is how Karma Yoga comes. So in a balanced personality, all these 3 yogas we understand are to be balanced, and that Western psychology accepts. The Western psychology accepts these 3 faculties of every human personality, and a proper development of our thinking, of our feeling, and of our willpower are essential for our success. That is what Western psychology says, and a healthy individual can transform himself and society. But Rajoga went a step ahead, because we are here dealing with another faculty which is unique to human beings. And that is the subject matter of Raj Yoga. That's why Swamiji gave it so much importance, because this was new, especially when he came to the West. He was well versed in Western psychology, he was well versed in Indian psychology. He knew the greatest contribution of Indian Vedanta or Indian philosophy was this philosophy of Patanjali's yoga, which he wanted to leave behind when he left the West. He wanted to leave something concrete behind. That was the most original contribution, the path of yoga. Yoga, when we say yoga, I mean Raj Yoga. To distinguish it from other yogas, he called it Raj Yoga. The primary purpose was to show that this is a superior kind of yoga which distinguishes us from ordinary human beings who want secular excellence. We may, the other three yogas are capable of making us spiritual. I'm not saying that it's not capable, but Raj Yoga is the fundamental yoga which supports all the yogas. To have bhakti also, you require concentration of mind. To do karma yoga properly, you require concentration of mind. So, also when we do Jnana yoga, we require concentration of mind. Otherwise, we cannot focus on the Jnana, the intricate verses of the Upanishads, which are so difficult to understand. So you require an analytical and thinking capacity as well. So all the three faculties, after we develop them, there is another capacity which, according to Swamiji, and this Raj Yoga is nothing but Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. Swamiji has given it a new name, Raj Yoga, because Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, he just calls it yoga. Patanjali's verses, you see, if we have a little patience, if we see the Patanjali's Yoga Sutras as commented by Swami Vivekananda after he gives this elaborate introduction, which was just necessary even before starting commenting upon the sutras, he wanted to place in proper perspective the place of Raj Yoga, as he called it. It is the same as Patanjali's yoga, but he called it Raj Yoga to distinguish it from other yogas like Bhakti Yoga, Karma Yoga. So he wanted a harmony of four yogas, and Raj Yoga would play an important role, especially in the West, where perhaps this idea of the self-reflexive capacity of the human mind to delve into the depths of one's own mind and try to find out the secrets of the mind, to find the secrets of prana, to find the secrets how our body, our physiology, everything works. Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, you remember, it doesn't just deal with the mind. The fourth step here is, of course, yama, niyama, asana, and pranayama. These are all directly or indirectly supporting the mind. But the training of the mind starts from pratyahara, dharana, dhyana, and samadhi, the last four steps. But even before that, Patanjali being in fact, they say Patanjali wrote two other books. One book he wrote on the human body, on physiology. Patanjali's contribution is at all the three levels. I mean, three levels of human personality. He first began by writing a beautiful book on the physiological process. And in fact, they say one major medical text which dealt with human physiology and the human body was written by Patanjali. Then he also wrote a book to take care of the mind, that is something about grammar. So he is credited to have been an author of that book also. Then finally he thought, I have written about the physical body, I have written about the subtle body, but I have to write something about the spiritual part of human body. So he decided to write something about Raj Yoga, and he started this system based on Sankhya philosophy, which was the philosophy at that time. And based on that Sankhya philosophy, he developed this wonderful science of Patanjali's yoga, where he starts with the body, asanas, then he goes to the pranayama. The yama and niyama also start their actions of the body and the mind put together. Yama and niyama deal with the physical body and the way the physical body is controlled by the mind. Niyama is internal control. Yama is the external control. We discussed that. We will again make a list of that, what was discussed. Ahimsa, Satya, Asteya, Brahmacharya, and Aparigraha. These were the external observances, the moral values which every religion insists upon. So this takes care of our body, this takes care of our mind, this takes care of our entire personality. So we begin with Yama. Ahimsa, that is not killing, not only physically, but even mentally. Jealousy and all those things are actually a sort of mental killing of certain people. So ahimsa is not just physical, not physical killing, not non-violence in the physical sense, but it has its spiritual counterpart also. Then asteya is non-stealing. Not we discussed all these things last time. I'm not repeating it. There is brahmacharya, which is continence, which is purity. As I told you, purity literally means going from the gross to the subtle. The more gross a person is, the more impure he is. It's a very simple equation. And Patanjali always believed in starting with the body, but then going slowly as fast as possible to the state of the mind. And from there on, starts our spiritual journey. So he doesn't want us to get stuck at the asana level. However useful they may be to keep your body in body fit and strong, but after that he quickly asks you to keep practicing yama and niyama and also asana uh, to a limited extent, so that your body becomes more or less suitable for higher forms of spiritual practice. Then he says even pranayama has to be done to purify your nerves. So how does it purify the nerves? That is the topic of today's discussion. And that Swami Vivekananda has dedicated 3 chapters to explain what this pranayama. He has skipped yama and niyama because he knows the niyama are the internal purificatory processes. That is shaucha, cleanliness, external cleanliness, internal cleanliness. Santosha is contentment, to be content with whatever we get. In essence, it means to lead an uncomplicated life, a simple life where you don't increase your wants. You just be content with whatever helps you to lead a comparatively good life, and at the same time focus more on your spiritual aspects of your personality. That is what yoga intends. So contentment is a virtue which, according to Holy Mother, is so important that unless you are content, then you go on gathering things, material things around you, and there's no end. And finally you realize when you're old that you have spent practically your whole life gathering things which we perhaps might not use, which you have to leave behind when you die. So santosha is a quality which uh, Patanjali says you have to practice right from beginning to see that you don't unnecessarily become greedy for more and more things. Be content with whatever you have. Then tapas, austerity. Austerity, I told you very clearly what austerity means last time. We do austerity means we are ready to leave our comfort zone. Something tells you that it is good to always do the thing which is pleasant, the thing which you like. It is easy to do a thing which you like, but it is more difficult to like a thing which you have to do. And that exactly is tapasya or austerity. That is how our karma gets exhausted. When we start liking the things which we do, which we have anyway, we have to do. For example, a mother has to look after the child. She can't say that it is, I have to leave my comfort zone and care for my child, work so hard. But if she really wants the child to uh, child's welfare, if she yearns for the child's welfare, she has to struggle. She has to give up her sleep. She has to give up so many things of life to see that the child is brought up properly. So the people have to leave that comfort zone. So leaving that comfort zone is known as tapasya. Tapasya literally means fire. So fire means that which burns, which makes you exhausted. So when we work hard, actually we are doing tapasya. So every work we do, whether it is forced upon us as a profession or whether we have taken upon those things as our day-to-day duties. Some people have willingly taken up certain duties. Like when you marry, you take up certain duties. You have some duties towards your wife, you have some duties towards your children, you have many duties towards the neighbors, society, towards animals, and all those things. So, our Indian society prescribed a list of duties, and when you practice these duties, you don't think of your comfort. If you want your comfort, then you have to have less responsibility. If you want to focus on yoga, that's why this idea of brahmacharya, this idea of uh, uh, freedom or idea of sannyasa came, because by once you commit certain things, once you say, for example, lead a married life, then you have to fulfill all the duties, the swadharma of that station of life. You can't escape. Just as Arjuna, Sri Krishna is telling, now you are a king. You are supposed to, you have chosen this profession. You are chosen to fight the battle. So you have to leave your comfort zone and fight your battle. That's the only way, logical way for you to work out your karma. So that is austerity. The tapasya which Arjuna had to do in Bhagavad Gita, the fighting of the war, the training which he had to undergo, the 14 years of uh, forest life which they had to lead to get back the lost kingdom as a king, to protect dharma. So all these things he had to do because that was the tapasya for him. So it is through, this is one of the niyamas which made him do this tapasya, which made him do austerity, though he had to leave the comfort zone. And he was tempted in the beginning, if you see, he wanted to leave the battlefield because he did not want, he wanted to wanted to go back to his comfort zone and not kill people or not fight and bear the consequences of this battle for which he had prepared himself. And he wanted to shirk his responsibility. He did not want to fulfill his responsibility. So Krishna says, no, this is tapasya, you have to do it. So everyone comes to this world with a particular responsibility, either chosen willingly or unwillingly. Whether we choose it willingly or unwillingly, we have to undergo it, or we have to make a right choice. If we want to escape certain, you want the good things of the world, and yet you don't want to take the responsibility. Like Sri Ramakrishna once criticized Hazra. He was a married person, but he suddenly thought that he will leave everything and come and stay at Dakshineshwar because that was more comfortable. He could get his food. So Sri Ramakrishna scolded him. See, how can you do that? You have married, you have children. Who will look after them? So if you had a desire to do tapasya, then you should not have married. But once you have married, you have to take the responsibility, and that is your swadharma. So he did not like Hajara leaving his home at the and his family at the mercy of others and doing spiritual practices here at Dakshineshwar just to escape the just to come to a comfort zone. So you have to leave the comfort zone if you have to practice austerity. So this austerity is also part of the niyama. Shaucha, Santosha, cleanliness. Shaucha is cleanliness, physical and mental. Santosha is contentment. Tapas is austerity. Swadhyaya, as I told you, Swadhyaya is to study one's own self. We are so engrossed in thinking about other people, we hardly pay attention to our own life, our own development, especially our own spiritual development. If you keep yourself busy interfering in the affairs of others throughout the day, then you will hardly get time for yourself. And then as it is, people are busy. And apart from that, they get very little time for themselves, for swadhyaya. So swadhyaya was insisted upon because Patanjali believed that unless you do some introspection, as Sri Ramakrishna used to often advise Master Mahasaya, who was a very busy householder and he had this job where he had to work very hard to maintain his family. So then he said, now and then, whenever you get a chance, why don't you utilize it? Why don't you go into solitude and try to practice this swadhyaya? When he came to Sri Ramakrishna, when he took down the notes, when he listened to these talks, it was actually practicing this niyama. This is swadhyaya. Swadhyaya means you take some time off of your busy schedule, however busy you may be, to do some self-study, to do some study of scriptures which will teach you your goal in life, your very role in life, your goal in life, and the way you should go about it. So that is Swadhyaya. And finally comes Ishwar Pranidhana, self-surrender to God, which is also part of Niyama. So you do Yama, you do Niyama. So these are the first two steps. And after having some kind of mastery or some kind of practice, basic practice. Of course, these yama and niyama are to be practiced as long as you live. It's not that you finish yama, then you do niyama, then you go to asana, then you go to pranayama. All things will be going together. Now and then, see, every time we work, we have to remember these things. We have to remember ahimsa, we have to remember asteya, non-stealing, we have to remember brahmacharya, try to be as pure as possible. We have to remember aparigraha, not receiving any gifts unnecessarily from people, because that leads to obligation, that leads to some kind of bondage. Whenever we accept a gift, that's why in India, people were very careful not to accept any gift from anybody and everybody, especially if it is given with some selfish purpose, because it binds you to the person who is giving you the gift. So you are expected to oblige or return something, return that favor sometime or the other. So aparigraha was also part of the yama, and we have this niyama where santosha is there. Santosha means, as I told you, contentment, cleanliness, tapasya, austerity, Swadhyaya, Ishvara Pranidhana, surrender to God. Surrender to God makes things very easy. As Holy Mother said, the easiest and the best way to solve the problems of life, all these yama and niyama will automatically, will come very spontaneously and naturally if we love God, or if we self-surrender to God and think that it is, if we go into some kind of self-surrender mode, where we unnecessarily do not exert our will on others and do not allow others to exert their will on us, then we'll be saving a lot of time and energy. This is a very important psychological fact. So what does self-surrender means? We take things as they come. Like Santosha. Santosha is also connected to this self-surrender. You are happy with what God doles out to you. If God has given you certain things, by virtue of your past karma, you have got certain things. Just be content and focus on the essentials without wasting much time. That is the idea. What did Girish Chandra Ghosh do when he said, "I can't do this, I can't do that"? Then Thakur Sri Ramakrishna told him, "Can you surrender yourself fully to me? At least can you do that? If you can do that, then I'll take your responsibility. Either you do yourself, you do japa, you do all these things. If you can't do, you surrender to somebody who can do it for you." There are only two ways. So Sri Ramakrishna being the Avtara, of course, if we surrender to God, definitely if it is 100% total surrender, then God takes care of our yoga and kshema, everything. But that is very, very difficult. Self-surrender to God is very difficult because of our egos. So as long as we have our egos, we have to do other things as well. We have to do aparigraha, we have to do yama, niyama, shaucha, santosha, tapasya, whatever mother or God makes us do, we have to do, as long as we have the ego. But when we really become like child, totally depend like a child who has no ego, who is totally dependent on the mother, once we really start feeling it, then you will see our spiritual life is becomes so smooth and God takes control. So when God takes control, He takes control only when you give up the control. So as long as our ego is there, whether it is kachami or pakami, the ripe ego or the raw ego, as Kathamrut nicely describes it. So whatever may be the state of our ego, as long as the ego is there, we will not surrender to God. And He's fine with that. He doesn't say that you have to surrender fully. He asked only Girish Chandra Ghosh to surrender fully, not others, because others were capable of doing sadhana. They were capable of doing yoga. So they said, okay, we will follow that path. Do a little bit of yama, do a little bit of niyama, do a little bit of asana, do pranayama, try to control your mind and do everything. But remember, finally, it is the Lord's grace which will give you uh, the realization. Grace, there's no substitute for grace. You can't say that because I have done so much, I should get so much from God. If you do more, it will benefit you definitely. It will make your life, the quality of your life better. But we can't expect God realization without the grace of God. You have to surrender at some stage or the other. When you find that your efforts are not yielding fruits, then we surrender to somebody who can do it for us. You surrender to the Ishta, you surrender to your Guru, you surrender to some saintly person and ask him or her whether uh, they can get guidance, they can get some support from, provided they have that. So Sri Ramakrishna used to say that different types of gurus are there, different types of ishtas are there, avtaras are there, who help the struggling aspirant to make progress in spiritual life. So that is done by Ishvara Pranidhana, the last step in niyama. So there are 5 yamas, 5 niyamas. Then we come to asana. Swami Vivekananda very briefly explains asana as that posture which makes your head, spine, and the neck and the spinal cord straight. That's the only condition. As long as you can maintain these 3 things straight, what is the position of your leg, whether you are hanging them down or whether you are folding it, squatting, or whether you are doing Vajrasana or any asana, it doesn't matter as long as your spine, your neck, and your head are in a straight line. Because when you do yoga, when the forces, when the prana especially, the Kundalini power, the power of Kundalini, which is also taken from Tantras by Swami Vivekananda, and he has introduced into this Raj Yoga. Actually, in Patanjali, he does not speak of Kundalini anywhere. The word Kundalini does not come. So, one should not confuse that it is Patanjali's yoga. Nowadays, everybody who studies Patanjali says Kundalini, talks about Kundalini, not knowing that Kundalini is part of Tantras. So, Tantras developed that Kundalini, the idea of Kundalini, which is nothing but your nervous current. We'll discuss a wonderful story where Swami Vivekananda explains how through pranayama, after asana, he comes to pranayama and discusses pranayama in great detail, because that was the most misunderstood science of yoga, or the most misunderstood part of yoga in the West. Whatever little yoga had come, they were all such breathing exercises and physical exercises, and it came through Buddhism also. There were so many Buddhist schools which adapted this yoga, because yoga is much older than Buddhism. So they borrowed a lot of things, Buddhists, and brought their own techniques of meditation to the West. And people got confused because there are so many techniques and everybody is interchanging these names and terminology without knowing the difference. This is Kundalini, then this pranic healing, and then there are so many Vipassana, and hundreds of schools have prospered. Uh, most of them may be good, we do not know, but many of them are based on it. They are not comprehensive in the sense Patanjali's Yoga Sutra gives a very comprehensive solution right from the body to the spirit. Whereas these sciences which have come through Buddhism, they handle our personality piecemeal. They care for some aspects of our personality. And as a result, people are not happy. They want something higher. They do practice Vipassana, they practice certain techniques which have come down to us from lesser people. Nobody knows how they are connected to Buddha or Buddha's teachings. Nobody follows Buddha's teachings and then follows this Vipassana and all these sects. The problem with these sects is we become so much engrossed in these sects that the main source is forgotten. We forget Patanjali, we forget Buddha himself, and in the name of Buddhism, there are more than, they say, 1,000 sects of Buddhism prospering, and each guru seems to be doing something, propagating some idea, some technique, which God alone knows from where he has learned. There is no tradition to support him. If you just ask him who his guru is, he will either refer to some book where he has read these things and started practicing, and he has become a practitioner, and they start practicing and they have the courage to teach it to others. And they say you learn, this is what I do, without even perfecting that particular science. So the first thing which is essential is this Guru Parampara. That's why Patanjali was very particular that he doesn't claim that he is the founder. He owns, he says, Kapil Muni, the Sankhya philosophers, these are age-old traditions which have come for centuries and centuries together. It has come down in a chain of disciples. Only then these spiritual practices have potency and have proper value. It is extremely dangerous and harmful if we take up any school randomly without even investigating from who is the source of this. If you just say it is part of Buddhism, then you ask him, well, which kind of Buddhism? Who is the founder of this, and who was his guru? Has he learnt it in a tradition which has come down from Buddha? If it has come down from Buddha, then we have to trace. We have to trace it back to Buddha. If we cannot do it, then it is some discovery made by some human being without having mastered that technique, and he, in a eagerness to spread that technique, he has given it to many people who are just floating on the surface, not knowing what they are doing. So one has to be very particular. So Swami Vivekananda wanted to leave behind this textbook of Raj Yoga, where he wanted to explain that this is not a discovery I have made. This is a discovery which thousands of years ago Patanjali has made. I am just formulating and translating it into English because that was the language which was understood by most of the people. And I follow a tradition, and he very clearly says when he discusses the prana, he says there are many things which I don't understand, and I just will tell you frankly that I don't understand. This perhaps is out of practice now, or it is not in, but whatever is traditional and whatever is continuing till now, the things which he learned from his own guru, Sri Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, who also comes in that wonderful tradition. The tradition can be traced. You can't say Vivekananda does not belong to a tradition. He belongs to a tradition. Sri Ramakrishna also belongs to a Vedanta tradition. He had his own gurus. He never broke the idea of tradition or the idea of uh, Guru Parampara, which has to come down, and that gives validity to all our yoga and all the different schools. So Swami Vivekananda, before he discusses this concept of prana, he is very particular to explain what this prana is. So then that is the fifth. We come to the third step, which is asana. Fourth is pranayama. Fifth is pratyahara, which is restraining the senses from going. We'll come to all those things later. Pratyahara means restraining the senses from going outward. Well, the human mind has a tendency to see things outward, so it does not see things which are inside. So unless you restrain that outward going tendency, you cannot even hope to practice the next step, which is dharana, which is focusing on the God within. So if you want to focus, you can't do both. You can't close your eyes and think of the objects of the world outside without doing pratyahara, and try to think of the objects or the ishta within. Now, if the Guru tells you, you meditate in the heart within, try to imagine either a flame or an ishta sitting on a lotus, and you meditate. To turn the gaze inwards, you have to stop your mind from going outwards. That is achieved by the fifth step, which is known as pratyahara. First, you have to restrain your mind for some time, and as soon as you sit for meditation, you have to switch off. You have to switch off your mind, as it were, so switch off your senses and tell them for some time now you forget the world. You sit in a corner, try to, if you want to fix your gaze inward, you can't be doing two things simultaneously. You can't be bothered about the outward things, your outward duties, your outward responsibilities. That's why Sri Ramakrishna used to say, now and then go, leave everything and go to Nirjanvas. If it is not for 3 days, at least go for 1 day. If it is not for 1 day, at least a few hours every day, or a few minutes at least. So the inward journey begins only when you stop the outward uh, the senses from moving outward. Along with the senses, the mind also goes outward. Mind has a tendency to follow the senses. So if you direct the senses inside, I mean the subtle senses, and try to imagine something within your heart, you change the focus as it were inward. That is known as dharana. So fixing the mind on a particular spot, preferably inside the personality, when we do that, it is known as dharana. But before doing dharana, we have to practice pratyahara. Pratyahara means not allowing the senses from going towards its food. Prey. Ahara means food. So every time we see something, we smell something, we taste something, we touch something, we are actually taking food. Not only through the mouth, we are taking food through the eyes, we are taking information through our hands, through our touch, through our smell. We are smelling something good outside, we know there is a nice incense stick outside. So that is also a kind of food. Only food is not ahara, means not just physical food. Whatever you take inside from outside, from the outside world, that is ahara. Ahara is food. So one of them is food which we eat. But there are other types of food. The sights which we see, the smells which we smell, the sounds which we hear, and the objects which we touch. So all these five senses are constantly giving you food, and that is ahara. Pratyahara means going away from that. Not telling the mind for some time you have been always eating something or the other, either through the mouth or through the eyes or through the nose. You have been gathering sensory inputs. Now put a break. Allow the do pratyahara and restrain the first thing is to restrain the mind, the senses from going outward and grabbing this food from the outside world. So let the world be at peace and you also be at peace. Withdraw from the world for some time and focus inside. And that focusing is known as dharana. When this dharana, this is the sixth step. Then you come to the seventh step, which is known as dhyana. That is when you start meditating. Now, perhaps you get an idea that how difficult meditation can be. If you have to practice yama, niyama, asana, pranayama, and when we master all this, then we come to pratyahara, which is itself a huge struggle, if you see. And then we come to dharana. Even dharana is not meditation. Dharana is an attempt at meditation. You are trying to focus on your Ishta, focus on the God within, again and again. The mind will go out. Again, through pratyahara, you stop it from going out, make it focused on the heart within. Again, after a few seconds, it will go out. Again, you bring it. So this struggle is known as dharana. Trying to fix the mind, fixing the mind on one spot. Now that itself is, maybe this process can be called as concentration. Still, it is not meditation. We have not even come to the seventh step. Meditation is such a difficult thing that we very often say we are sitting for meditation. Actually, what we are doing is we are not even practicing pratyahara. If sitting in a shrine or any peaceful place, our mind is taking us outward so much that we are thinking of everything except the Ishta within. We are thinking of our responsibilities, we are thinking of our attachments, we are thinking of the objects of the world outside. So, unless we practice the pratyahara, which is the fifth step, you cannot expect to even do dharana, leave alone dhyana. So, we should never say that we are practicing. We are trying to practice dhyana, we should say. We are trying to practice meditation. But now and then, we are trying to practice this pratyahara and dharana, focusing on the mind on one ishta. But when that deepens, then it becomes dhyana, where the sense of I goes away. The sense of I is still there in dharana. There you feel that I am meditating on Thakur, I am meditating on Thakur. That continuous feeling that I am doing my japa, that I is still there. But in dhyana, the object, the subject who is meditating, the I, and the object meditated upon, and the process, everything merges into one. And then you have the deepest meditation. That is what Swami Vivekananda said, that that meditation gives you total rest. And if you are able to, Swamiji says, even a moment of such wonderful meditation is equivalent to hours of sleep, because you have stilled your. What does sleep do to you? Deep sleep, what it does is, it simply does the job of pratyahara. It just switches off your connection with the outside world. When you are in the waking state, you have to struggle to do pratyahara, you have to struggle to do dharana, and then you go to meditation, dhyana. But when you are in deep sleep, your body has been is in such a state where automatically the pratyahara has happened. In the sense, you are not aware of any world outside you. In a deep sleep, I'm not talking of dream. In the dream, still dream objects are there. The world is still there. We dream about objects of the world. But in deep sleep, you lose contact with the outside world. You don't even know where you are sleeping. If you are in total deep sleep, sometimes people, when they get up, they just take some time to find out where they are, what they are supposed to do. It takes some time for them to come back to the external world. So you get an inkling, you get a hint of how meditation is. But unfortunately, that sleep is in ignorance. It is not when you are fully awake. If you can have that deep sleep experience when you are awake, then it becomes dhyana. In meditation, you lose the sense of I, you lose the sense of the world, you lose the sense of the separateness of the object and the subject, the I feeling, all merge together, and only the object remains shining, only your Ishta remains, and nothing remains. And you feel so much joy that there is absolutely no connection with the outside world. There is no materialism, there is no body. I mean, you don't feel it. Body, everything is there, but your whole focus is on the Ishta, or on the object of meditation, in which you have lost yourself. So it is a kind of semi-trance before samadhi. Samadhi is where the I is totally removed. Whereas in dhyana, that little bit of I still remains. But in the samadhi, there is no question of ego. There is no subject. Everything merges into the dhyana. So this is what happens when you reach the superconscious plane. So to recapitulate what I said, yama and niyama are moral values for day-to-day living and should be perfected as much as possible before we start other steps. Then asana, the easiest one, should be chosen. This is what Swami Vivekananda now concludes the whole summary of what. Then he comes to the prana. When he comes to the prana, he will discuss in great detail. We will take it up in the next class. But now I'm just trying to tell you, asana, the easiest asana should be chosen. I mean, that asana, you don't have to bother, you don't have to be particular that only this asana, Padmasana is suitable, Virasana, or even if you sit in a chair, just ensure, according to Swamiji, that the spine is straight, the neck is straight. You don't bend unnecessarily, because the nervous forces are obstructed when the spine is bent. They don't have a smooth flow through the hollow canal of Sushumna as and when the Kundalini rises. So we'll discuss that Kundalini when we discuss the prana. We have to understand the concept of prana in great detail before even we try to understand what this Kundalini and what are the other nervous forces which make us more and more adept and take us to higher and higher steps other than asana and pranayama. Yama, niyama, asana and pranayama. So these four, Swamiji has given a summary of that, and we discussed it in great detail. So the asana, Shankaracharya in Shvetashvatara Upanishad says about the importance of pranayama, which Swamiji just quotes, but he gives his own explanation in a very wonderful way, explaining what this pranayama is all about. Assuming that you have practiced to a certain extent yama and niyama, you have tried to be as pure as possible, tried to be as happy as possible, tried to do as much tapasya as possible, tried to do your duties, the day-to-day duties which you are supposed to do as part of your swadharma, that is tapasya, swadhyaya, you have done your swadhyaya, you have done Ishvara pranidhana, you have done shaucha, maintained a certain degree of cleanliness of body and the mind, uh, practice the basic amount of purity which you are supposed to do before practicing Raj Yoga. So after all those things, he says, now you go to pranayama. When you finish, and then when you decided that this is my asana, which I will do when I meditate, try to keep that asana or try to keep that posture constant, which is the easiest for you. Swamiji is very particular about this, that don't go on experimenting and spending lot of time in doing different asanas. Just do that asana which helps you to keep the spine straight. And once you get that asana, you stick to it and then focus on the higher aspects like pranayama, and which he is going to discuss. Swamiji is trying to explain what this prana is. And in brief, he begins with this sentence that this pranayama enables you to control the body and not the body controlling the mind. You see, the mind is controlled by the body. The prana is also controlled by the body. If the body is sick, your prana becomes weak, your mind becomes weak. But pranayama helps you to gain control of your actions, of your body, of your annamaya kosha, in a very subtle way. How it does, to understand that, we have to dive deep into this very concept of pranayama. What is pranayama? Is it just breath control? Is it just, how can we be masters? Just by breathing, how can we control our body? It doesn't seem to be a scientific process. If pranayama was just breathing, we do kumbhaka, we do rechaka, then we do, there are so many asanas. We do kapal bhati, and if you go to the internet in YouTube, you will find thousands and thousands of different pranayama. They are techniques, definitely, different breathing patterns to improve your circulation, to improve your physical energy, to improve. All those things may be important to a certain extent, but then that is not the goal. The main idea of pranayama is to help your mind to control your body. If we forget that, and if we just focus on the breath and the breathing techniques, and then the breathing will control the body, but the mind will be not developed at all. That has to be developed. That's why they say a person who has taken diksha or was doing mantras regularly, if he repeats the mantra, he doesn't have to do pranayama, because the very repetition of the systematic repetition of the mantra in a rhythm enables him to do pranayama automatically. Whatever pranayama he has to do, that is achieved just by repeating in a synchronous way the japa which has been given by the guru. So if japa yoga is there, then your pranayama is automatic. That's why Swamiji says, and Holy Mother also says, that is the easiest way, because you don't have to master these techniques of breathing techniques, because people don't have time, and even if they have time, they don't have a proper guru. Otherwise, improper breathing, wrong breathing may cause more harm than benefit, and instead of helping the body, it may harm the body permanently. So the more natural process, according to Swamiji, otherwise he would have warned us. So he is trying to tell us, first try to understand pranayama is not breathing at all. It has nothing to do with breathing. It has a little to do with breathing, but that is just the preliminary step. Then breathing is given. Breathing becomes automatic. Breathing becomes a natural process, which is the result of the control of the prana by the mind. And how to achieve that control of prana, the real prana, not the breath. Again, I tell you, prana is not the breath. Pranayama is not control of the breath. Breath is one of the ways through which we control the nerve currents in our body and direct it to give proper instructions to the body at the right time and help us in controlling our own self. So a little bit of japa, a little bit of automatic pranayama will help your senses to be controlled. It will help pratyahara. It will definitely help pratyahara, because you will have more control over your many things which concern your body. You'll be having more control over your diet, you'll be having more control over your habits, especially the habits which tend to waste your body resources. There are so many wonderful resources. Every cell of the body contributes something. That's why Patanjali gave so much importance. He used to say, Shariram Adyam Khalu Dharma Sadhanam. In one of his works, he says, Shariram Adyam, the Sharira, the physical body, is a great aid in the help of spiritual practices. Dharma sadhanam means if you want to practice dharma properly, religion properly, you have to take care of your body. So apart from taking care of the body should not be pampered, it should be controlled so that all the essential functions of the body are not dissipated or not wasted in useless things, and it does not drain away your resources unnecessarily, which can be used for higher purposes like yoga, like control of the mind, like pranayama. Even for pranayama, you need a healthy body, and if you practice, if there is lot of impurity in a person, they say even pranayama can be cause lot of dangers. One cannot be expected. That's why Swamiji says don't bother about doing these different difficult exercises of breathing, because unless the body is absolutely pure, if you do it, it can wreak havoc, it can create physical problems, uncurable diseases it can do. So that is why Swamiji is giving a word of caution and telling us again and again, don't indulge in pranayama or playing with these breathing techniques without maintaining a sufficient degree of purity, yama and niyama, and also ahara, food, proper nutrition, proper guidance of a uh, pranayama guru, which is very, very rare to find. People are not trained in pranayama as they are trained in other things. So he says, instead of that, do some simple breathing exercises and try to understand what this real pranayama is. So now we are already running short of time. We have exceeded the time. This pranayama is such a big topic that unless we understand, we will not even start the fifth, the steps, the fourth step of yoga. So without understanding pranayama, the real purpose of prana, what is prana, which is definitely not the breath. Prana is something higher. So what is this cosmic prana? What is the individual prana? How are we connected to the cosmic prana? How can we help get the benefit of cosmic prana? How can we control it to control our senses? How can we control it to control our mind? So this pranayama, control of prana, becomes very, very important if we take it and use it for the control of the mind rather than just control of the body. We have to use it for both control of the body as well as control of the mind. But predominantly, prana has been misunderstood so much that it is used predominantly to control the body and to make the body healthy, to make the body happy. It's fine. It's one purpose why asana and yogas are done by so many people, millions of people. They just want a healthy body. But they don't understand that if they again abuse the body and if they resort to impure practices, impure worldly life, then all the efforts or all the benefits they got from pranayama and asana are going to go waste. So conservation of energy and a certain amount of purity through yama and niyama, if it is practiced, then pranayama can take you to higher and higher levels, which is the goal of pranayama according to Patanjali. So we will come to that pranayama in the next Friday class. So please come on time so that the prana, every idea which Swamiji develops, right from what prana is, what cosmic prana is, what individual prana is, how to control it, what happens if you control it, how is it connected to your nervous system, what is Kundalini, everything is discussed by Swamiji. The psychic prana, the universal prana, he has divided it into 3 major chapters. So we will not start the discussion today, but please be present in our next class so that we can take it forward from there. So if there are some questions, you can please raise your hands. I am unmuting you. You raise your hands and then I'll unmute you. Yeah, if I have come to the gallery view now, and if you raise, Amit is asking some question. Okay, I'm unmuting you. Ask quickly, loudly.
Okay, Swamiji.
Yes.
My question is, if I have learned some breathing
I'm not
exercise.
able to hear you. You have to. You
Oh, can
see,
you hear me
you're not
now?
unmuted yourself. Your
Can you
voice
hear
is
me now?
audio is off.
Can you hear me now?
I have unmuted you, but yeah.
Unmute. Okay, can you hear me?
Ask now.
Okay, my question is,
No,
if I
something
have,
is wrong.
yeah, something's wrong. It's okay. It's okay.
Maybe you can text me later. Huh? I think something is wrong with your audio. I have unmuted you. Yeah. Oh, it seems they can. 1 minute. Amit, they are able to hear you. They are able to, but I am not able to hear you. Just a minute. Okay. Now you ask. Amit, ask. Huh? Yeah, now you ask.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. My question was, if I have learned the some pranayama, and I know I'm talking about the breathing aspect, if I've learned them, would you still consider them as useful, as a practice that I should
Yeah,
continue?
I get your voice now. Okay. Please continue. Ask the
Okay.
question quickly.
So my question is, if I have learned some pranayam, so I've learned, say, the breathing exercises, as you said. Is it? Would you say it's still in now, would you say it's still useful for me to continue that practice that I have been doing for some time?
From
Before,
whom did you learn this?
I learned it from someone who learned from Swami Ramdev, and then they taught us how to do it.
You see, I can't comment upon this because I do not know what technique you are following and whether it is giving you any benefit. But when we will discuss about pranayama in the next class, it will make it very clear to you what is the purpose of pranayama. I don't know for what purpose you are doing it. If you are doing it just as a physical exercise, then it is fine. You can do it, but restrict yourself to that level and just make sure that the technique which you are doing is exactly as what perhaps Ramdev or whoever is the founder of that technique, whether he I don't know how correctly you are doing it. If you are doing it correctly, if you are confident and if it is not harming you, then you can do it. What is the harm? But don't overdo it, because you don't require that pranayama if your goal is spirituality, if you want spiritual development of your personality, then I don't think pranayama has to be practiced more than only that pranayama you have to practice which keeps your mind steady. The purpose is to make your mind steady. And if you have some breathing problems, then there is a therapeutic value to your pranayama also, like asthma and all. For that, you can consult some very good yoga teacher who if it benefits you, there's no harm in practicing. But if that is the purpose, if for spirituality you don't require any kind of pranayama, you just have to practice the japa, it automatically induces the pranayama, the regular breathing, which will help you to focus your mind. So the test of whether your pranayama is correct is the restlessness of your mind. If restlessness increases, if you are not able to control your mind, if you are not able to control your senses, then any pranayama taught by any guru is waste. In fact, it is harmful, because Swami Vivekananda says you are playing with fire. You are playing with a breath control, and that breath control is like a flywheel of a machine. If it goes out of control, it will control your body, it will control your senses, and it will dictate how you behave. So you will find I'm not able to control my sense organs. They are just going havoc. So one of the reasons may be the lack of self-control. If there is more and more lack of self-control, that means the pranayama is acting in a negative way. It is making you more jealous, more frightful, more fearful. So if the negative qualities and the sense control is getting lesser and lesser, and you find it more difficult, then you have to understand that the pranayama is going in the reverse way. Instead of helping you, it is, so in that case it is better to stop. See,
Okay.
don't think it as pranayama is beneficial or harmful only for the body. It is beneficial and harmful for the mind as well. It is a double-edged sword. So if you do it wrongly, it not only harms your body, but it harms your mind as well, and can play havoc with your mind. You can even lose the mental balance. I have seen people practicing pranayama. Uh, they practice it without having sufficient purity of mind, and then it leads to a lot of psychological problems, and which are irreversible sometimes. So it is like playing with fire. If you can handle fire properly, and somebody is able to guide you. But in Ramakrishna mission, at least we don't teach pranayama because we are not trained for that. We don't believe, we believe that the simple pranayama, which is induced by simple repetition of mantra, a systematic and synchronous repetition of the mantra, is is enough for pranayama, is enough to give you the benefits of real pranayama. You got my point? Any more questions? Yes. Yes, please.
Good afternoon, Swamiji, and thank you.
Namaste.
I would like to know if our dreams when we are sleeping can be used somehow for our spiritual development, or if we can be visited by some people in another, for example, our guru that teaches us when we are sleeping.
See, when you are sleeping, two things can happen. When you say you are sleeping, it is not always deep sleep. Part of your sleep is dream. Another part of your sleep is deep sleep. So you are alternating between deep sleep and dream. No person can have deep sleep for all the 8 hours or 6 hours. If you are sleeping for 6 hours, nobody can claim that they are having deep sleep for 6 hours. Maybe 4 hours you are dreaming. Alternate, you are fluctuating between dream state and deep sleep state. And sometimes you are waking up also. Sometimes you get up at night. So your sleep is made of 3 parts. One is semi-awake state. You get up, you don't know whether you are dreaming or whether, and then there is a real dream where you are so engrossed and you think it is so real that you think it is as real as the waking state. Sometimes the dream nightmare can be very powerful. So that is one state, and other state is sleep. Now you are asking me whether you can continue your sadhana or continue your spiritual practices when you are sleeping. Yes, that Sri Ramakrishna, Ma Sharda Devi also, and everybody used to say that just before you go to sleep, you go in a very relaxed way, repeating the name of God, or repeating your japa, or doing some prayer, or even just surrendering to God. You just give up all the planning and all those things, and just tell God, now tomorrow again I have to get up and have a very busy day. Most of us have busy days after we get up, isn't it? And we want good sleep. So first of all, you may get a good quality sleep, which by itself is a great benefit. Out of 6 hours, if you get 2 or 3 hours of good sleep, then that is a good achievement. Otherwise, it is mostly dream, which is draining away again your energy. Whenever the mind is active, it disturbs you. So meditation also can help you to get a very good deep sleep. It may be less. Suppose you meditate properly, or have good concentration, and you lead a very dedicated and a very systematic life, a very routine life, then you will find the quality of your sleep also increases. If your mind is not disturbed during the waking state too much, if you learn control of mind, if you maintain an undercurrent of japa when you are awake, you will find it very easy to continue that undercurrent when you are sleeping. Very often people go with very good thoughts and they get up with those good thoughts. You, for example, you read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. Some people do that. And they don't think of anything beyond that. They think of their Ishta, they think of their Guru, and then they go to sleep. So the first thing when they wake up is they get up with a wonderful confidence. If you practice it for a long time, you will find that you will get up with that wonderful feeling. But if you sleep with a disturbed mind, so that's why they say you should not be talking too much or discussing something. You can talk good things. You can have satsanga or you can have reading. That is fine. But don't irritate or don't unnecessarily worry or sleep with anxiety. Most of us, the only anxiety we should have is that we should get up at the fixed time. So we have to put the alarm and let the alarm do the waking. Now, thanks to the technology, we can have alarms which can remind you again and again. So you don't have to worry that you have to get up. The alarm will wake you up anyway. So the spiritual practices can go on only if you go to sleep with a good frame of mind. Okay?
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, Indrajit wants to ask. Okay.
Yes, Pranam.
Yes.
Pranam Maharaj.
Yes. Yeah, just a minute. I'm not able to hear you. Now, okay. Please speak now.
Yes, Pranam Maharaj. Probably you will cover it later, but I was wondering if you could explain Pratyahar briefly again, please, because
Pratyahara, yes. What I'll do is next time before starting pranayama, because we have to first discuss pranayama, na? And pranayama, Swamiji is giving more importance. But before that, as I told you, Pratyahara comes after pranayama. So it will come in our discussion definitely. But I can tell you again briefly, Pratyahara means ahara. You know what ahara means? Food. Consuming food means ahara. Now what are we doing? 24 hours when we are, so not 24 hours, throughout the day, whenever we are awake, we are consuming some kind of food. Food through the mouth, food through the eyes, food through the ears. It can be good food, it can be bad food also. If you are listening to evil thoughts, the food will be evil through the eyes. If the sound is bad, the sound will be bad. The food is bad. So all this ahara which is coming in, the input, whatever you put inside, whatever comes inside is ahara. Pratyahara means restraining the sense organs from giving you more input than which you can handle. You can't handle many things. That's why people who are socializing too much, going here, going there, and mixing with a lot of people, they have so much of input, they don't know how to process the input they are getting. So there is a bombardment of the ahara. It is like eating 1 ton of food. You can't probably eat 1 ton of food. You can eat only that which you can digest. So pratyahara means, prati means against. So telling the body ki don't gather in within you things which you are not able to digest. So it is in simple language, minding our own business. Now these are common things of wisdom, that if we mind our own business, we are not bothered about many things. So at least some portion of our life should be utilized in self-introspection or minding our own business. Now this lockdown is helping us, forcing us to do that. But even then, people are finding ways and means to go out and try to do ahara. They are still waiting for ahara now. They have been deprived of sights. They have deprived of sounds. They have deprived of chatter, gossip, and all those things. They are missing now. So they want to now desperate to go and get ahara. So this lockdown has helped pratyahara actually. What you did during the lockdown is nothing but pratyahara, if you have utilized it properly. You got an idea now. We will discuss it in greater detail, but it simply means minding your own business, not allowing the senses to go out and grab more and more objects. You know, it doesn't just mean food. Ahara does not mean food. It means everything, all the inputs. So what will you do with a lot of input which you are not able to even process? If I am satisfied with 100 grams of food, if I eat 1 kilo, it's going to harm me, isn't it? That is how the pratyahara has to be practiced before dharana. Okay?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Pranam Maharaj.
So yes.
That's
So shall I take your leave now, or yes? Professor Kerr wants to ask something.
Pranam Maharaj.
Very
nice. Very nice. I like your pranam. I like the discussion on pranam, and also very much like the person who asked the question. Last one, he gave the example of the Hara. Oh, he's fantastic, Maharaj. You made my day. It's not only food, it's all about reading, doing things.
Everything that we input, whatever inputs we do, whatever inputs are there, they are all ahara. And pratyahara is exact opposite of that.
Yeah, it's very nice, Maharaj, the example you gave. Like, somebody might have 10 cars, right? Okay.
Yeah.
Somebody might have pets or something like that, or 10
Yes.
Exactly
that is exactly what it means, that you make your life uncomplicated. The more uncomplicated your life is, the more conducive it is to yoga and pranayama and higher practices. So we can't have both. You know, we can't have a very busy life and at the same time expect to have yoga. They don't go together. See, without pratyahara, no dharana is possible. Without dharana, no dhyana is possible. And still, we want to take all the ahara, and at the same time we want to do dhyana. So contradictory things cannot exist in a same person.
Very nice, Maharaj. So we'll see you tomorrow again, Maharaj.
Yes. No, tomorrow there's no class. I'm so sorry. Tomorrow, that WebEx class, I normally combine it with the university. So they have given me next Saturday, not this. So this Saturday, tomorrow there will be no class. The next Saturday there will be class. Okay. But it will be on Sunday.
Sunday class. Sunday what time?
Yeah, because Gita class I try to combine with Belur Math's WebEx class.
Yeah.
I have that is 5:45. Yeah, that was supposed to be. It's good you reminded me. Tomorrow the university schedule is not there, so I'm not taking that class. So the Zoom class also will not be there.
Okay, so we'll see you on Sunday then, Maharaj.
Yeah, Sunday for the gospel class, 4:30 as usual.
Tomorrow take some rest. Take some rest, Maharaj.
Oh yes. Yeah.
Come near us.
Okay. Namaste.
Pranam Maharaj. Pranam Maharaj. It's very refreshing, Maharaj, after a day's work.
Yes.
After a day's work. Okay, we'll see you on Sunday, Maharaj.
Yeah, sure.